All right, guys. So I've got Megan on the channel, and what can I say? I like to interview real people who have got skin in the game, who've gone back a few years. And me and Megan met, I think it was approximately a year ago, at a blockchain event, and she was one of these charismatic characters that I really admire, but I also admire her tenacity, her hard work, her resilience. She's obviously someone that's got a lot of experience in the financial crime scene, and she's gone back many years. And what a great interview to actually get someone on this channel who takes it as seriously as she does. And financial crime, especially in the sexual violence cases, is quite high, and this is kind of a very serious topic. And as you know, I've got a very reputable crowd, purely organic. I take my brand also quite seriously. And one of the things I like to do is I like to interview great guys who are real, transparent, and organic to tell us our story. So, Megan, welcome to the channel.
Thank you very much. I'm not a guide and I'm not organic, but
You're all
I'm
organic here,
so
Yeah.
yeah. No, honestly, you were fantastic at that blockchain conference, and talking about compliance to decentralized blockchain, crypto, Web3, NFT people, generally is a very easy way to be exited from the conversation. It's like a snore fest.
It's like
Yeah.
a snore fest, and it can rattle a few feathers as well, right? Especially when you
I
talk
think it just
about.
puts people in a coma. Like we created decentralized finance and apps because of the complication, bureaucracy, and nonsense of traditional finance and the frustration, the suppression of innovation for products, um, and for, I want to say paranoia, but maybe that's too much.
Yeah.
But do you know what I mean?
So tell
Like,
us, yeah, we'll go into the interview. Tell us about yourself, Megan, and who you are, and what made you excited about this whole sort of financial crime scene, especially tackling such a important such a subject, which is the sexual violence cases that are sort of rising and what's going on between that. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
cool. So my name is Meg. I'm a 50-year-old living in England, and I have a little boy called Michael. He's my world. He's 12. Um, my first financial crime assignment was with Barclays, and they were fabulous.
Mhm.
Um, and it was implementing sanctions, right? And I did politics, philosophy, and history at school because I like to keep gray matter busy. Um, and my brother was in the World Trade Center. And that really changed the focus on how those crimes are paid for, how they're coordinated, how ineffective intelligence sharing was at the time due to limitations beyond even the most passionate person working in that field.
Yeah.
Um, and it galvanized opinion to oof, this isn't just Pablo Escobar, or, you know, South America or,
There's a lot of
drugs. Like,
shady. You think there's a lot of shadiness going on when you were in that game. You worked for very many reputable banks. Did you see? Because we're talking about this. Did you see a lot of that? And do you see that happening today?
yeah, I think the thing was for me, like, it's where politics and passion,
Just say it how
um,
it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's politics and sort of social conscience or movements, sort of the rubber hits the road, right? The politicians get on the podium and create laws and movements and the global workforce is part of the solution. And I think before we had truly global financial services and awareness, and integrated communities and the ability to communicate about things that were happening, before the web. Um, uh, it was something that we could sort of just say, oh, it happens over there, right? Which is a human tendency with really horrible things. Well, it wouldn't happen here, right? And I got involved in financial crime, And I was really inspired because you sort of feel like you're wearing a cape or you're doing something really important. And if you're going to be a banker,
Mm.
or, better be a good one, fighting the good fight and helping people, right?
Yeah,
And very shortly after you embark on that career, and I've talked to a lot of professionals, um, the novelty wears off because the impact is so muted, and the resistance, the frustration,
yeah.
is so it's tangible, right? Like compliance walks into a room, conversation stops. Um, and for people that really wanted to make a difference, it stops being fun and it stops making the difference that they were committed to, and then it's just turning a handle, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I have a particular passion about identifying and detecting and eventually stopping sexual violence and trafficking. Because there are stats that say one in four people, so
wow.
25% of the world, um, have a knowledge, awareness, experience against consent or their will, and those things linger. Um,
So let's
and
go with,
because
yeah, it's
because
interesting.
they're so taboo, they're not
Mhm,
talked about. So it's an
mhm.
easy thing to sort of ignore, right? And it's
Yeah,
all grouped under this drug money, corruption, tax evasion, all this stuff. And like the scope just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you're working in a bank, right, you're not a cop, you're not a regulator, you're not writing legislation. The why gets progressively removed, right? And if there's no why, where is the passion to comply?
there
Yeah.
you go. Yeah,
And 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 it's really frustrating. And it's not making the difference we want it to make. 225 billion is spent on the global compliance industry with solutions, infrastructure, regulators, resources.
yeah.
And the best estimate is that 2% of it is detected and recovered.
Wow.
Um, I couldn't keep a job with
Yeah.
2% effectiveness. And even though we have 2% effectiveness and there's no real way to measure it, right? So a lot of people will clamor and say, oh, it can't be that low. But that's continuing the denial. We're not making this rapid movement or progression towards the why of the framework, right?
Yeah.
We're
So let's dig in.
complying.
Let's dig in a little bit. I mean, it's a very interesting topic, and what you said, the whole 9 yards in terms of what's going on in financial crimes, especially in the amount of sexual violent cases that you're saying have risen over time. Um, what are we facing today in terms of the whole? So my community can understand how passionate you are in this space.
So I'm going to say something that's uncomfortable because I'm really committed. If we can't talk about it, we're very unlikely to stop it or to impact or
Far
change the
away.
trajectory.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I've had experience of rape. I've had experience of one in four, right? So why is it a wow? But it's just not talked about. So it's shocking
A lot of
and it's
women are vague. Yeah, they close themselves off, when it comes to these
everyone does. I
topics.
mean,
There's a lot of
men.
slimy men out there, right?
Well, it's not just men, right?
Right.
So we've got to remove the taboo so that we can allow and promote creativity or innovation, right?
Right.
And radical change isn't incremental, right? It's not like today I'll do this and tomorrow I'll do that. And it has to have a source of inspiration. But if it doesn't have a platform or a voice,
Yeah.
how has that been
You're going to
championed?
get heard, right? And I want to spin it to you. Why is sexual violent cases growing in the financial world?
Well, I mean, hopefully it's not just limited to the financial world, right? Like, I mean, who would want that job?
All over the
But
world. Yeah.
yeah, we have a globally connected society now. We can transact in seconds with relative anonymity or circumvent controls. And we have really isolated people by and large. And
They want to talk. They
the
don't want to
incel
come up.
movement, you have
Mhm.
all sorts of things happening, right? There's a lot of frustration. And then frustration with silence can go bad pretty quickly, right? So sexual violence has been around for years, but if we connect to the why And if we can encourage collaboration, yeah, we can do a lot more than we're doing now. So because we don't believe it's something we can win, we've sort of stopped trying, right? Like it's a hospital pass, right? Like you're wearing a Chiefs thing. Did you see the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
So it was really clear, like almost detectable. The confidence was gone. And there was a chance it could be effective. Um, but you felt the pain of the other team, right?
Right.
And the problem with sexual violence and human trafficking is that those crimes can be detected through transactional analysis and clever controls and passionate platforms. But they linger far more than that event, right?
Right.
And and that really affects our society, that affects our relationships, that affects our communities. So I don't want to sound like a huge tree hugger, but because we've forgotten the why, we're not collaborating to get to the answer or to get to better solutions. There was
That's
a
part of my
Marine.
next question. That's part of my next question is financial. So, what role do you think financial institutions are playing, Megan, in terms of detecting and preventing sexual violence? Because you've explained about the psychological causes, and you were also a victim yourself, and this is something I I respect people
So
who talk
taboo.
about
Like
it.
if you
Yeah,
tell
it's
people
taboo, but
you've
yeah,
been raped
for
or you've
sure.
had this, the
But
conversation
not a lot
changes.
of women like
And then
to
you're
come up.
shamed.
Yeah,
But hold on. Then you're shamed to not even talking about it. And then
yeah,
there's no community to demand that change until something drastic happens, right? And then it's talked about, and then, oh, it's uncomfortable and go away. The thing with finance, they're there to make money and they're there to facilitate the great majority of really wholesome transactions. Um,
mhm.
but banks are designed for profit, yeah? And law enforcement is designed to sort of
Law and
police.
all force. Yeah. Mm.
So they're opposing goals and there are judgment calls, right? Like we're looking at Bybit, we're looking at other scandals, we're looking at, you know,
All
God,
the ones
code,
FTX.
everything.
Yeah.
But within the innovation, they get manipulated really quickly because there's more profit in crime, right?
So
You're
what
not
are we
paying
doing
tax.
to prevent it? What is it that, what's the end route to this? How are we going to prevent?
So the first human trafficking ring that I stopped in my career was a group of 15 girls. The youngest was 11 when she applied for a modeling job. Um, and they were drugged, beaten, raped, and prostituted. And the money was given, and they sent it home. But the self-esteem was gone. The power, even the language, the
Imagine. Yeah.
integration, they were hidden, right?
Imagine.
Ghosts.
Yeah.
And there were indications that something was amiss, right?
Right.
And because there's so many other things to prioritize, uh, it wasn't detected, right? So a lot of the financial crime solutions look for outliers. They look for, are you the bottom of the pack or are you the top of the pack?
So
Well, if
why
you're a
wasn't
criminal,
it
you
detected?
want
Why?
to blend. You
Mm,
want to blend,
mm,
right? You
mm.
want to blend. So you're not going to be necessarily the outliers. So there was a big case with child abuse in Asia, and you would get a code, you would send crypto, you would have 5 minutes to complete the transaction, and you were shown live video footage of pretty horrific things. And the banks that were facilitating those transactions could have been asking, why do we have 15, 30 transactions under £5 going to the same account within 1 minute,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you've forgotten the why, you're not looking for that. You're
Yeah.
looking for how do I keep my board happy? How do I keep my job? How do I pay my bills? Right? So we have sort of a willful blindness, which is a term, right? And then we have frustration, and then we're doing the best we can. We're not the cops, right? So the opportunity for crypto, for DeFi, for Web3, for the post-web, um, is really you've built infrastructure that's superior. And you have really creative, passionate people looking for disruption, right? Because that
Yeah.
causes the cream to rise to the top. And if we can collaborate and make the why interesting, we can do really amazing things. So when I worked as what would be called a head of compliance in a crypto exchange, we had non-custodial wallets before Mika, yeah? And we had evidence of renting private planes and flying to Bulgaria and the same day flying to Frankfurt, 2 days later going to Barcelona, lots of hotel bills, no restaurants, no entertainment. Sure, they could have used another account, right?
Right.
There's a bunch of explanations, but that's so low down on the agenda. And the solutions, that's a hard topic. Hey, I've designed a solution that's going to stop human trafficking and sexual violence. Fucking hell. Can we go to lunch? This is uncomfortable. So, how do you make it important enough that it maintains its space on the agenda? Yeah.
Right.
And I've recently started partnering with Solana and a whole bunch of really cool people in crypto and in Cambridge and Oxford and yourself. And there's a lot of brain power that if they were inspired by the why, we could literally change this quickly. Learn fast, iterate, fail fast, go, right?
And I want to
And so
ask you, what in terms of detecting it, do you think we need to do more to do that from your
yeah,
experience?
yeah.
Right.
If you work in a regulated company,
Mm.
uh, and you have responsibilities to impress the regulator, ask your teams if they feel they're making a difference. And if they say no, ask them why,
Mhm.
right? Because a lot of the solutions available on the market are built for a profit. Yeah. And purpose is for hippies or for Greta or, disruptors, right? But what if we could do profit and purpose with
Yeah,
tremendous impact so that the truly radical ideas are surfaced faster and brought forward? But
amazing.
if
What
you've
a great
forgotten
answer.
why,
What a great
hmm?
answer. Because I think it's the passion that you talk about this is really ingrained in you from what you've experienced, like you say, lots of
Well, the 11-year-old was trafficked for a year
that's what I
and
was
she
going to
didn't
say.
speak the
Yeah.
language. She
Hmm.
didn't speak the language. And they were very fortunate in 2006 to have supervision. We didn't have the same regulatory framework you know, um, and when she was rescued along with the other girls, and 7 men were arrested.
Right.
She didn't speak the language. She didn't think she could ever go home. She was addicted to drugs and broken. Yeah. At 12.
That's of a young age. And it's a death spiral that
No,
is.
but like how can you participate in being blind to that and being part of that? Like we don't wear fur coats anymore. We don't have freaking straws, right? They took away straws. Do you remember? Um, and because of a turtle, right? A
Right.
turtle had a strap up its nose. Somebody filmed it. Everyone got upset about this 75-year-old turtle screaming, "No more straws, cornstarch, pasta, paper." Yeah? No more
Yeah.
single-use plastics. If we connect to the why, radical change is possible.
Amazing.
Okay. And crypto and Web3 and all this disruption and innovation of blockchain and AI.
It's
Yeah.
coming.
I
Yeah.
want to make you passionate about what could also happen while you're building your dreams and your infrastructure. And you can actually lead TradFi to the solutions they were looking for when FATF was formed in 1989.
Right.
Okay. So if we take innovation and passion, miracles are possible, right?
Right. My next question is so what is the fight? What is the big fight, right? How do we fight, the financial crime, this whole space in terms of victim support and rehabilitation? How do we help those people, become whole again, get their life back, right? What do we do?
And I love that. And I meet a lot of professionals who say, I'm a financial crime fighter. Do you have a badge? Do you have a cape? Did you fill in a crime report? Did you go support the victim?
Nine
Are you
times
doing
out of
victim
10.
support? You're a banker,
Yeah.
okay?
They
You're a
don't need that.
technologist.
They
You're
don't
making a
need that.
profit.
That's right.
But you don't care about the why.
Mm.
How
They don't care
how
about the
hard
why
is
at
it to
all.
say you're
Yeah.
a financial crime fighter? Okay? So if you're going to identify solutions that lead to faster detection, to stop money laundering, to stop illicit finance, that will save lives, right? If there were programs to say your bag of Coke has 17 dead people associated with it, is that worth your Saturday night? Like
That's
if
right.
we reframe the glitz and the glamour and the individualism. We can do radical things, but if you care enough, it's possible. If you don't, we're going to still be talking about this in 100 years.
They're
If
going to
Rosa
keep on doing it.
Parks,
Yeah,
if Rosa Parks, yeah, and this is where I sound like a total hippie American, and I'm a Yank, I'm sorry, but whatever. I'm trying to encourage you to do more because it is possible. Yeah. Um, if Rosa Parks stood up, would that have caused the civil rights movement? Yeah.
so what would you
If
say to those bankers and technologists, right, who like reaping in profit and they haven't got their head round this in terms of what is their why? How would you change that to help rehabilitation and victim support?
Yeah, if you're not inspired, you're tired. Okay.
Right.
If you're just about money, cool. Go be that person. Honestly. But get out of the way for
For
the
other
people that
people to
want to
help like you.
actually champion the message
Mm,
and cause the change,
right.
right? Really, okay? There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? I'm not a cop. I don't understand it. It's gross. Someone else can handle it. Cool. So get out of the way. So the real people can go, not the real people, the people who care about that cause
That's
can
right.
go forward,
Can
right?
help the cause, yeah.
Just
And
be
I
honest.
agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a great point you made there, Megan, is that, people like yourself want to make the cars, you want to get the message out there, but people don't want to get out the way. And so I think that's very
Well, they
important.
don't want to hear it,
They don't
right?
want to hear
Because
it. No,
it's considered an unwinnable war,
that's
right?
right.
And so who wants to be on the losing team? But guess what? We already are. Yeah. The only measuring stick that regulators globally have to enforce a financial regulatory framework is based on TradFi. So you
That's
can
right.
be as cool as you freaking want on blockchain, but guess where you're going to head? You're going to go into securities or you're going to become another currency. And right now, there is not a cohesive regulatory framework that maps to the innovation, technology, and possibility.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So the big problem in TradFi is don't have a tick box approach,
Yeah,
don't be afraid of the regulator. It's sort of like when the teacher's not in the room, are you actually a jerk or do you still do the homework, right? Um, and crypto has an ability, right? The
that's right.
innovative
Yeah, it's all
solution have an
transparent, it's
ability to
open.
set standard, right? Solana, open source, bring these things through. There is an opportunity to rather than being policed and supervised and babysat, you can lead.
That's right.
If that doesn't inspire you, you're in the wrong game. Move along,
Get
do
out.
something else, sell hamburgers,
So
right?
my next question is, I mean, that's a very important point, and I hope my community is tuning into this. Do follow Megan on LinkedIn. I think she's a great character in this space. Um, how do we get policymakers to improve these laws? The stuff that you're talking about. Because obviously sexual violence in the financial world is quite high, but it's very unspoken about. What can
I
we
don't know if
do
it's
to
quite
improve?
high or whatever, but it's
Yeah,
it's sort of on the agenda for window dressing, right? Like everyone's got a freaking green ESG mantra now. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Are you really committed to that cause? Or is it just window dressing for stakeholders and investment? And just be honest.
Just
You
be
know,
open. Yeah,
want to play that
don't
game,
sugarcoat it.
you're
Yeah,
not going to be with me, right? You're not going to play with my people, etc. But we can make a profit and we can make an impact. If that doesn't inspire you, we're not going to talk anyway, right? But
so what can policymakers do, Megan? What tell me, I want to get to the point. What do policy mean? What can they do?
this is so cheesy, and I'm so sorry, but I try and talk in visuals to make a point quickly. The people sitting on the planes in 9/11 expected someone else to come forward. Yeah. So where's the first responder? I'm a New Yorker, mate. Bring it the fuck on. No problem. But there were people sitting there waiting for someone else to handle it. And I
Right.
think that's really no malice, right?
No
It
malice.
no,
Yeah,
not everyone's a
absolutely.
hero, right? I'm not besmirching. I had friends die. Like, I promise you there's a point to this. But when
No,
the
I,
fire
I, yeah,
trucks are
I
running
agree.
up and
Yeah,
other people are sitting up there waiting for someone to come rescue them, right? No one thought the buildings would come down, right? We aren't sounding the alarm that there is a crisis we can fix. And if you expect someone else to do it,
it's not
it's
going to
going
work.
to take a lot longer.
It's going to take
But if
longer.
it
Yeah,
inspires you at all, if you want to leave a legacy, if
that's
you want to
right.
make a profit that's actually inspiring, yeah, build it and they will come, please talk to me, right? Please come find the people that actually haven't given up, that want to make a difference, want to make an impact, want to empower innovation and disruptors and do it collaboratively. If you're waiting for a policymaker, 10 years,
It'll take
okay?
a
Because they
long
got to
time.
talk
Yeah,
to
and they're
everybody.
sleeping.
If you're
Yeah.
waiting for the regulator, stop waiting. Start creating.
So look at the regulators today. They've done an awful job in terms of how they regulate in crypto, and only now they're just starting to do it, right?
I was shocked. Yeah. So I had to do interviews for fitness and proprietary on crypto exchanges. And I don't know if I'm going to get blacklisted for saying this, but um, uh, some of the questions were so abundantly clear that they had been scripted without being understood. So if you're part of a process that's ineffective,
This is not scripted. This is all real, guys. I mean, they
no,
keep,
no, no. What I'm saying is
yeah,
my interview,
right,
right?
right,
And
yeah,
they were
yeah,
asking me questions about this
yeah.
exchange we were
ABC.
applying for,
Mhm.
and it was abundantly clear that certain concepts weren't understood. And the resistance to this is weird and we don't know how to do it, yeah, is what was the nail in the coffin, right?
Right.
And if you don't want that to happen to the entire industry, right? Crypto has a similar problem to financial crime victims.
Similar, yeah.
If you can't talk about it, if you can't explain it, if you can't inspire, you're not gonna lead. As long as you have someone to blame, you're not leading. Okay. So it's not about the policymakers. It's not about the regulators. It's not about the cops. It's not about the banks. It's about us, right? Because money facilitates what we allow, right?
That's right,
If
yeah.
a turtle can globally change the production of a freaking straw, we can do a lot more than we're doing on the detection of illicit finance and flows when we connect to the why, right? So,
Amazing. And Megan, just one final question before we sort of wrap this up. Tell me about yourself. This is something I wanna learn more. Is that you've got years and years of experience. You know, you've gone back, I don't know, 15,
are
20
you
years.
calling me old? Like this is the fourth time you've said that.
I know, but I think it's very interesting the way you talk, and the community want to know what are you up to now and sort of what you're doing.
I'm like Tigger on crack, okay? I want to make you super excited about shit no one wants to talk about. And I want to make you excited about it because I believe we can make a huge difference. Yeah?
Right.
Um, and it's sort of like pom-poms at the moment, right? So when I became an MLRO, when I became a head of compliance, I was like, I'm not Oxbridge, not a lawyer. All right, mate, it's going to be cushy. It was horrendous,
Horrendous,
right?
yeah. A lot of
And
red tape.
and
Mm.
the systems that are created, right?
Yeah.
So you have super geeks that can write policies, but they don't know how to tune systems. You have product people creating products and they've never done the job. And if
So
we
what's
don't
the
hit
end cause?
if
What's the
we
end
don't hit the
cause?
bullshit button on
Mm-hmm.
our ineffectiveness
Mm-hmm.
and our detachment from the why,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to continue. So I wear a sweatshirt that says do not comply. Why do you want to comply with something that's not working? Challenge it, make it better, be a contribution, not a complaint, right?
Wow.
God, I'm like a Hallmark factory, aren't I? But it's just like I I know we can do it better. And we can do it better with really focused intention. But the intention's gone, right? It's
Right. Yeah.
not present. And I don't want to work with Eeyore. I want to be with Tigger. And I want to cause the change and inspire people because energy is contagious, right? I want to make sure mine's worth catching. Yours is worth catching. We have a choice at every interaction to make a difference or to put someone down. And as long as I'm responsible for that, I know I'm going to be setting my steps right, just like you are, right? Why do you do
Amazing.
this? Why do you cause these conversations? Because you're trying to cause a contribution, right?
And a disruption and at large, yeah. And
But
a
why a
contribution.
disruption? What disruption are you? Yeah? Talk to me about
Mm.
that. Because it's the same bloody passion. We want to make it better.
That's right.
Yeah?
Yeah, amazing. What a great conversation. I think, Megan, some of the stuff you said is very, very interesting. And, you know, guys, do follow her on LinkedIn. I think some of the stuff we've learned today. Is anything finally you like to say?
I've got a solution based on 25 years. I've run it past the super geeks and they love it. I have 22 customers in waiting and I need to get funding. So, and I've never been a founder. So that's really frustrating because it's a different learning curve. But if anything I've said that Naz has graciously allowed me the platform inspires you or piques your interest, please check out safe.tech or hit me a message
On
and
LinkedIn. Yeah.
we can do it. Yeah.
Can do it. There you go, guys. I think what a great chat. Open, transparent. This is how we do it here. We're totally unedited. We just say it how it is, and it's good to learn about Meagan's journey. I think in this whole space, this was a topic really passionate about herself. And we need to talk a lot more about it. Don't hide underneath the duvet cover. This is something where you need to sort of come out and just shine and don't be scared, right? This is the
Can I
go
say one thing or tell me to shut
sure,
up?
sure, sure.
Basically, when you've been the victim of sexual violence, or God forbid, trafficking or something horrible that's not fun to talk about, you never really feel like you fit in, right?
That's
And my
right.
whole
Yeah.
career was about when do I get safe? When do I
Mhm.
get to a place where I fit and I'm okay and I can breathe, right?
Right.
Um, when I got to that level and I said, oh my God, it's an illusion. It's not actually doing that. I saw the parallels, right? And there's a lot of people, regardless of the crime that they're experiencing or regardless of their ambition that's uncommunicated, the freer we are and
The
the
more
freer
easier
we
to talk
are,
about it. Yeah.
and then real change is possible.
There you go, guys. Thank you, Meagan, for your time. I think it's a brilliant, brilliant discussion. Do follow her on LinkedIn, very active. And, we talk about everything here. So it's a great to have you on the channel. We said we're going to meet up for a coffee or tea or something.
You promised wine,
I
mate. I
did
mean, you
promise it, and I owe her a coffee and a tea. So, anyway, great, guys. I hope you enjoyed the interview. And thank you for your time, Meagan. Thank you.
thank you so much. This was gorgeous. Thank you so much. God
Bye
bless.
bye. Bye, everyone.